Produce department workers know which stores are selling vegetables that should have been thrown away days ago. They watch managers spray brown lettuce with water to make it look fresh. They see moldy produce get repackaged and put back on shelves. They know which chains prioritize profit over quality so aggressively that food safety becomes an afterthought. And they're ready to expose it all. The grocery stores they refuse to buy vegetables from might be exactly where you've been shopping. You walk into the produce section thinking the bright lights and water misters mean fresh vegetables, that organic labels guarantee quality, that grocery stores wouldn't sell bad produce. The reality is far more disturbing. Some of America's biggest grocery chains have produce practices so questionable that their own employees won't touch the vegetables they're paid to stock. This isn't about nitpicking minor quality differences. This is about moldy vegetables being repackaged, expired produce being relabeled, and vegetables sitting at unsafe temperatures for days. Today, we're exposing the 10 worst grocery stores to buy vegetables from according to the people who work in their produce departments. And make sure you stay until the very end. We've got bonus stores and practices that are even worse than what made the main countdown. The bonus revelations about organic produce fraud and mislabeling will shock you. Trust me, you'll want to know which other chains are cutting corners with your vegetables. Number 10. Walmart, the wilted warehouse. Let's start with America's largest grocer. Walmart's produce quality is consistently terrible. Former produce workers describe vegetables that arrive already degraded, inadequate storage conditions, and management that prioritizes keeping shelves full over removing bad product. The vegetables travel through Walmart's massive distribution network, sitting in warehouses and trucks for days before reaching stores. By the time produce hits the shelves, it's already lost significant freshness. The lettuce is wilting, the tomatoes are bruised, and the peppers are soft. You're not buying fresh vegetables. You're buying vegetables at the end of their usable life. The storage conditions in Walmart stores are inadequate too. The produce coolers struggle to maintain proper temperatures. The misting systems are inconsistent. The turnover is so high that employees barely have time to cull bad produce before stocking new deliveries. The result is mixed quality where good and bad vegetables sit side by side. Former Walmart produce workers have been vocal online. We'd get shipments where half the produce was already bad. Management would tell us to stock it anyway and just pull the obviously rotten stuff. The lettuce would be brown at the edges, the berries would have mold, but we'd still put it out. If it wasn't completely gross, it went on the shelf. The organic produce is particularly disappointing. Walmart sources organic vegetables from budget suppliers that cut corners on quality. You're paying premium prices for organic labels on vegetables that are barely better than conventional options, and often in worse condition due to shorter shelf life. The bagged salads are another red flag. They're often close to expiration when they hit shelves, and the bags sit in coolers at inconsistent temperatures. Former employees warn the bagged salads would sit until they were 1 day from expiring. We'd stock them knowing customers had maybe 48 hours before they went bad. Nobody checked dates consistently. Number 9. Dollar General, the temperature abuse problem. Dollar General has been aggressively expanding into food, including produce. This is a disaster. Dollar General stores are not designed for fresh produce. The refrigeration is minimal, the turnover is slow, and the staff has zero training in produce handling or rotation. The produce selection is extremely limited, usually just basics like potatoes, onions, bananas, and maybe some apples. But even these simple items are stored improperly. The coolers are underpowered and overcrowded, which prevents proper temperature maintenance. Vegetables sit at 50 to 55 degrees instead of the required 38 to 40 degrees. Health inspections at Dollar General stores consistently find violations in the produce section. Expired products still on shelves, produce stored at improper temperatures, and coolers not functioning properly are common findings. The violations are systematic, not isolated incidents. Former Dollar General employees have shared disturbing stories. The produce would arrive and sit in the back room for hours before anyone got around to stocking it. The cooler barely worked. We'd have potatoes sprouting and onions rotting, but management would say to pick out the worst ones and keep selling the rest. The whole operation was sketchy. The staffing is another huge problem. Dollar General operates with skeleton crews, 1 or 2 people running entire stores. This means produce doesn't get checked regularly, bad items stay on shelves, and temperature monitoring doesn't happen. You're taking significant food safety risks buying produce there. Number 8. Save a Lot, the discount disaster. Save a Lot markets itself as a discount grocery option. The produce reflects those rock-bottom prices. Former workers describe vegetables that arrive in poor condition, inadequate storage, and management pressure to sell everything regardless of quality. The produce selection is limited to the cheapest, most basic items. The quality is consistently poor. Bruised apples, soft tomatoes, wilted lettuce, and potatoes with eyes sprouting. You're not getting deals on good produce. You're getting low-tier vegetables that other stores rejected. The storage practices are questionable. Produce sits in walk-in coolers that don't maintain consistent temperatures. During busy periods or equipment failures, vegetables sit at room temperature for extended periods. The temperature abuse accelerates spoilage and creates food safety risks. One former Save a Lot employee revealed, "The produce was always the worst part of the store. We'd get shipments of vegetables that were clearly past their prime. Management would tell us to stock everything and let customers decide what to buy. We weren't supposed to throw anything away unless it was visibly rotting." The turnover is also problematic. Because selection is limited and quality is poor, customers don't buy much produce at Save a Lot. This means vegetables sit on shelves longer than they should, degrading further. It's a vicious cycle where poor quality leads to slow sales, which leads to even worse quality. Number 7. Family Dollar, the refrigeration nightmare. Family Dollar is Dollar General's competitor with the same fundamental problems, maybe worse. The refrigeration infrastructure is completely inadequate for fresh produce. Family Dollar stores were never designed to handle perishables, and their produce departments are health hazards. The produce coolers are undersized, overworked, and frequently broken. They struggle to maintain temperatures year-round, but especially during summer months. Produce sits at dangerous temperatures for extended periods, creating perfect conditions for bacterial growth and rapid spoilage. The product rotation is non-existent. With limited produce selection and slow turnover, items sit for weeks. Employees don't check dates or quality consistently because they're juggling multiple departments. Expired and moldy produce regularly makes it to shelves because no one's monitoring them. Health inspections at Family Dollar locations frequently cite produce violations. Vegetables stored at unsafe temperatures, coolers not working, and moldy produce on shelves are consistent findings across the chain. The pattern is systemic and shows corporate indifference to food safety. One former manager revealed the extent of the problem. "Corporate pushed us to sell produce, but our stores couldn't handle it. The coolers were inadequate. They'd break down constantly. We'd lose entire shipments to spoilage, but before we realized it, customers had been buying produce that sat at dangerous temperatures for hours or days." Number 6. Food Lion, the expiration date scandal. Food Lion has a documented history of food safety violations dating back to the 1990s. Old habits die hard. The company was caught repackaging and selling expired meat and produce, paid settlements, and promised reforms. But former employees say the culture of cutting corners hasn't changed. The produce department continues to have problems with old inventory being repackaged to hide age. Brown lettuce gets trimmed and rewrapped. Moldy berries get sorted and repackaged. Vegetables approaching expiration get misted aggressively and repositioned to look fresher. The appearance of freshness is more important than actual freshness. Former employees have been consistent in their complaints. "We were pressured to minimize shrink by any means necessary. That meant keeping produce on the floor as long as possible. If lettuce was brown at the edges, we'd trim it and put it back. If strawberries had a few moldy ones, we'd pick them out and repackage the rest. Nothing got thrown away unless it was completely rotten." The organic produce is particularly problematic. Food Lion charges premium prices for organic labels, but the quality is often worse than conventional options. The organic vegetables sit longer because fewer customers buy them, and by the time you purchase them, they're already declining. The bagged salad situation is concerning too. Food Lion stocks salads close to expiration and relies on customers not checking dates carefully. Former workers admit the store banks on people grabbing salads quickly without inspecting them thoroughly. Number 5. Kroger, the mixed bag problem. Kroger and its subsidiary chains, Fred Meyer, Ralph's, Smith's, have wildly inconsistent produce quality. Some locations are decent, most are problematic. The chain's size and complexity mean quality control failures happen constantly across different stores. The problems start with sourcing. Kroger buys from multiple suppliers to keep costs down, which means produce quality varies dramatically. The romaine you bought last week might be completely different from what you buy today. There's no consistency in sourcing or quality standards. The storage conditions are hit or miss. Some Kroger stores maintain proper cooler temperatures and rotation protocols. Others have equipment issues, understaffing, and poor management that lead to temperature abuse and old inventory staying too long. You're gambling every time you shop produce at Kroger. Former Kroger produce workers have shared concerning practices. Our cooler temperatures were always off. We'd report it to maintenance and nothing would get fixed for weeks. Meanwhile, produce sat at 45 to 50 degrees instead of the required 38 to 40. The temperature abuse meant vegetables spoiled faster, but we still had to stock and sell them. The pre-cut vegetables and fruit trays are particularly risky. Kroger prepares these in-house, which sounds good until you learn they use produce that's declining in quality. The cutting happens days before sale, and by the time you buy them, the freshness is long gone. Former workers admit, the pre-cut fruit used produce that was getting too soft to sell whole. We'd cut it up to extend its life. Number 4. Aldi, the mystery sourcing issue. Aldi is beloved for low prices, but the produce quality is consistently poor. The sourcing is questionable and the limited selection means old inventory doesn't rotate quickly. You're getting budget vegetables at budget prices, but the trade-off in quality and freshness is significant. The produce selection is extremely limited compared to traditional grocers. Aldi stocks may be 30 to 40 produce items versus 200 plus at regular stores. This means if specific items don't sell quickly, they sit for extended periods. The bananas, bagged salads, and berries move quickly. Everything else? It sits and degrades. The quality is inconsistent and often poor. The vegetables are smaller, less attractive, and frequently bruised or damaged. The apples are mealy, the tomatoes are flavorless, the lettuce wilts quickly. You're buying produce that didn't meet quality standards for other stores, the rejects and seconds that got sold to discount chains. Former Aldi employees have noted storage problems. The produce cooler was barely adequate. During busy times when doors stayed open constantly, temperatures would spike. We'd see condensation on produce, which is a sign of temperature abuse. The turnover on popular items was good, but less popular vegetables would sit for a week or more. The organic selection at Aldi is minimal and overpriced for the quality. The organic vegetables are often in worse condition than conventional options because they have shorter shelf lives, and Aldi's turnover isn't fast enough to keep them fresh. Number 3. Target, the amateur operation. Target expanded into groceries without proper infrastructure for fresh produce. They're completely out of their depth. The produce departments at Target are understaffed, poorly managed, and stocked with vegetables that are mediocre at best. The produce quality is consistently poor. Target sources from budget suppliers and accepts lower quality standards than traditional grocers. The vegetables are smaller, less fresh, and often arrive at stores already compromised. You're paying Target's premium prices for produce that's discount-tier quality. The storage conditions are inadequate. The produce coolers are too small for the volume Target tries to stock. The refrigeration struggles to keep up. The misting systems are inconsistent or non-existent. The infrastructure doesn't support quality produce operations. The staff training is minimal. Target rotates employees between departments, which means the person stocking produce might have zero experience with proper handling, temperature requirements, or quality assessment. You're trusting your vegetables to workers who don't know what they're doing. One former Target employee admitted, "I got assigned to produce with zero training. I didn't know how to check for quality, what temperatures were safe, or how to rotate stock properly. I was just putting vegetables on shelves and hoping for the best. The whole operation felt amateur compared to real grocery stores." The turnover problems are significant. Target customers don't go there primarily for produce, so the selection sits longer. The organic vegetables especially don't move quickly, which means they're often past their prime by the time you buy them. Number 2. Albertsons are Safeway, the repackaging kings. Albertsons and its family of stores, Safeway, Vons, Jewel-Osco, have serious problems with repackaging old produce. Former workers have exposed systematic practices of trimming, rewashing, and repackaging declining vegetables to extend shelf life and avoid shrink. The lettuce is the worst offender. When bagged lettuce approaches expiration, workers are instructed to dump it, rewash it, repackage it in new bags, and give it a fresh date. The lettuce has already been declining for days, but customers see a fresh date and assume it's new product. You're buying old lettuce with a fake date. The pre-cut vegetables follow similar patterns. Vegetables that are getting soft or discolored get trimmed, recut, and repackaged with new dates. The quality has already declined significantly, but the fresh packaging and date create the illusion of freshness. Former Albertsons employees have been consistent about these practices. We were trained on how to recover produce that was declining, trim the brown edges off lettuce, pick moldy berries out of containers and repackage the rest, cut soft spots off tomatoes and sell them in mixed packs. It was systematic fraud. Management called it reducing shrink. I called it lying to customers. The berries are particularly problematic. When strawberry containers develop mold, workers are told to sort through them, remove obviously moldy berries, and repackage the rest. The remaining berries have been exposed to mold and are likely contaminated, but they get sold anyway with fresh labels. The organic produce gets the same treatment. Despite premium pricing and health-conscious marketing, organic vegetables at Albertsons get repackaged just like conventional produce. You're paying more for organic labels on vegetables that have been sitting around and repackaged to hide their age. Number 1. Gas station convenience stores, the absolute worst. This technically isn't a grocery store, but gas stations that sell produce are the absolute worst place to buy vegetables. It's a food safety nightmare. The produce is low quality, stored improperly, and sold by people with zero training in produce handling. The coolers at gas stations are designed for beverages, not produce. They don't maintain the proper temperature ranges for vegetables. The produce sits at 45 to 55 degrees instead of the required 38 to 40 degrees, creating perfect conditions for bacterial growth and rapid spoilage. The selection is extremely limited, usually just bananas, apples, maybe some pre-cut fruit cups, and occasionally bagged salads. The turnover is abysmal because most gas station customers aren't there for produce. Items sit for weeks, slowly deteriorating in inadequate refrigeration. Former gas station employees have admitted the truth. Nobody at a gas station cares about the produce. It barely gets checked, dates rarely get monitored, and items sit until someone buys them or they become obviously rotten. I watched bananas sit for 2 weeks, turning from green to black. The pre-cut fruit cups would sit well past their dates because nobody thought to check. The sourcing is the lowest tier available. Gas stations buy from budget distributors that supply the cheapest produce available. You're getting vegetables that didn't meet quality standards for actual grocery stores, the rejects and seconds that couldn't be sold anywhere else. The health risks are significant. Temperature abuse, long storage times, and lack of monitoring create perfect conditions for bacterial contamination. Eating produce from gas stations is genuinely risky, especially for high-risk populations like children, elderly, or immunocompromised individuals. Bonus store. 1. Grocery outlet, the closeout gamble. Grocery outlet sells overstock and closeout products, including produce. You're buying vegetables that other stores couldn't sell. The produce is approaching or past its prime, comes from random suppliers, and the quality is consistently poor. The selection is random and inconsistent. What's available one week is gone the next because grocery outlet buys whatever deals they can find. The dates are often close to expiration because they're buying close-out inventory that other retailers rejected. Bonus store 2. Big Lots, the non-grocer problem. Big Lots has expanded into food, including some produce. They have no business selling vegetables. The stores lack proper refrigeration, the staff has no produce training, and the quality is terrible. It's a discount variety store trying to be a grocer and failing completely. The produce sits in inadequate coolers, barely gets monitored, and the turnover is so slow that items degrade significantly before being purchased. Former employees confirm the operation is amateur hour. Bonus store 3. CVS, Walgreens, the pharmacy failure. CVS and Walgreens have added small produce sections to some stores. The pharmacy should stick to medicine. The produce selection is minimal, the quality is poor, and the storage conditions are questionable at best. The coolers are barely adequate for the small selection they stock. The staff has no produce training. The prices are higher than actual grocery stores for lower quality vegetables. There's zero value proposition. Bonus store 4, 7-Eleven, the convenience store produce. 7-Eleven has tried expanding into produce with pre-cut fruits and vegetables. The quality is consistently terrible. The pre-cut items sit in coolers at inconsistent temperatures, and the dates are often very close to expiration when stocked. Former employees admit the produce is an afterthought that barely gets attention. It sits until purchased or until becoming obviously spoiled, whichever comes first. Bonus store 5, Piggly Wiggly, the regional nightmare. Piggly Wiggly stores common in the South have notorious produce quality problems. The departments are understaffed and poorly managed. The vegetables arrive in poor condition and sit too long before being culled. The franchise model means standards vary wildly by location. Some stores are passable, most have serious quality control issues with produce sitting past its prime. Conclusion: produce department workers aren't trying to scare you away from buying vegetables. They're sharing insider knowledge about which stores cut corners, ignore food safety, and prioritize profit over your health. Listen to the people who stock your vegetables. The pattern is clear. Discount chains, convenience stores, and retailers without proper produce infrastructure are the worst places to buy vegetables. Temperature abuse, old inventory, repackaging fraud, and poor quality control happen more often than most customers realize. The only way to truly protect yourself is to shop at stores with proper produce departments, inspect vegetables carefully before buying, and trust your senses. If produce looks wilted, smells off, or feels soft, don't buy it regardless of the date on the package. Better yet, shop at farmers markets where vegetables are actually fresh, or grow your own if possible. The quality difference is incomparable, and you know exactly where your food comes from. Your health is worth more than saving $2 on questionable vegetables. Because the biggest revelation isn't about any single store. It's that employees who work in produce departments at these chains actively avoid buying vegetables from their own employers. When the people who stock the produce won't eat it themselves, that should tell you everything you need to know. If you made it this far, including all the bonus stores, you now understand which grocery chains are cutting corners with your vegetables. You know which stores employees refuse to shop at. Use this knowledge to protect your health and get actual quality for your money. Now, do me a favor, smash that like button. Subscribe to the hidden menu and tell us in the comments. Have you had bad experiences buying produce from any of these stores? Where do you buy your vegetables? At the hidden menu, we believe in food safety, quality sourcing, and making informed choices. Stop gambling with your health at questionable grocery stores.
And remember, the truth is not always on the menu.